Hey, how's it going out there, everybody? Cool Colas here to bring you the hustler's perspective. I hope everybody is having a good day today. I got a pretty interesting topic here for video 4 of 7. So, today I want to talk to you all about the 5 important concepts the education system failed to teach. As you all may know about me by now, I have a certain, I won't say disdain, but a certain, I guess I have a bone to pick with the education system as far as how it's done people, as far as how it's done myself, as far as just everything that it's about. I have a serious bone to pick with the system in general. So I kind of want to get into why I wanted to discuss this topic though specifically, and then kind of go from there and tell you all about these concepts that I feel could help other people out if the education system taught them in the right way. So the first thing is that we need to start holding the education system accountable for not being able to instruct people in the right way, especially higher education. Now, my problem is the fact that there's this big, I guess, standard that's held for the education system as to what it's supposed to do for people, and it's been held in this way for years because of just our parents and older generations and other people who have talked it up and talked about how like knowledge is power, and what you learn from school to go get your education is going to be powerful to you. And I don't know if you all always hear this quote, but people always say education is everything. It's the one thing that nobody can take away from you. Every time someone references that quote, I understand what it's meant for, and I also think that what they're saying is true. But I think that the context that a lot of these people use it in is a little faulty. And I think it's faulty because I think most of the people who are talking about education are talking about the education system. And they're talking about what the education system can give you. But I don't believe that this is a true way of educating someone where they can understand everything that has to kind of go on in life in general. So to me, I think that when the way I guess interpret this quote is, I think that educating yourself, whether it's doing your own research, whether it's going on the internet, which is just so luxurious to have in like this day and age, and having technology and word of mouth and seeking the help of others is like one of the best ways. And reading is or some of the best ways you can educate yourself. Not just going to school and then getting a job. That doesn't teach you everything that you need to know about life. It doesn't teach you anything you need to know whatsoever about business. And it certainly doesn't teach you about going and pursuing your passions, like your actual passions that don't involve getting a degree and then kissing somebody's butt to try to get into a job that doesn't even fit your major. So to me, I think that when we talk about education is everything, it means a continuous process of educating yourselves through research and study and things like that, and not getting into the cycle of just going to school, getting a job, and then just doing the same thing kind of in a cycle where you're just going to work and then coming home and then sleeping, but not really working on the things that you personally are passionate about and the vision that you have. Because essentially, when you go and you work a job, you're working for the vision that someone else has. And that's fine if that's, what you want to do. I mean, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a job, but it doesn't necessarily identify the vision that you have for yourself, because essentially you're trying to fit yourself into the vision of this other company that you work for in some way, and arbitrarily as well too, so you halfway understand it but you think you fully understand it. And I think that a lot of people haven't defined what their like personal vision is. So I think that the education system doesn't allow you to do that. The other thing too is I want to challenge your mind by having this topic. So I want to be able to challenge you by thinking outside of the box here, and just stopping this tunnel vision view that the education system is the way to succeed, and like going to school, going to college, or getting a degree is the way that people are going to be able to get ahead in life and get to where they want to get to. Now, mind you, I do believe that it can get your foot in the door in a certain job if your concern is getting a job. And like I said, everybody's different. So not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody's meant to be a business person. But I'm speaking on the positives of it, is that it can potentially, not definitely, but potentially get you in the door to a certain job where you can start on a career. that may or may not be related to whatever you did in your major. But I guess I want to challenge you to kind of think outside the box and to understand, are you really educating yourself on everything that's going on outside of the realm of like what happens when you're in college and getting your degree? Are you, and what I mean by that is on a business level, are you understanding like the concepts that you need to know to pursue your passion on your own without like your 9 to 5 or whatever hours that you work at your job? So like, are you really kind of like thinking and considering those things when we talk about educating people? The other thing too is that we put too much emphasis on equating being educated to actually having a degree. Having a degree does not say anything about you being an educated person. It says something about you having the capacity to learn what is being taught to you, which may or may not be of value, but it does not mean that you are an educated person. There's so much more to being educated. Again, there's reading, there's extra researching, there's understanding the business side. There's understanding what it means to be an independent contractor. It's also like understanding what it means to own something, understanding what it means to hustle beyond working a 9 to 5 and then going to school and thinking you're the smartest person in the world just because you got a 4.0. I think there's, and again, I'm not trying to be negative here. I'm just trying to be very realistic with people's trains of thought on this whole process. So again, we need to stop equating, and I won't even just say education, we need to even stop equating intelligence to achieving a degree. Those things do not correlate. And then I would also say intelligence, because I'm speaking arbitrary at this point, and intelligence and a lot of factors, because intelligence again is kind of like, is defined as one thing like by most people, but there are different types of intelligences, and we'll actually get to that a little bit later. But my point is that like we need to stop correlating the fact that someone is educated just because they hold a degree in their hands. They don't know anything. I would even say that myself, I got a chemical engineering degree back in 2015, and I consider myself uneducated at the point where I actually had my degree in 2015. And do you know why? Because I knew nothing about business. I knew nothing about owning something. I always considered the things that I actually was passionate about just to be a hobby. I never really understood myself, like my true self, like who I am. I just figured, hey, I'm just going to go work a job and I'm just going to kind of just go with the flow of life. And life hit me. It hit me really hard. And other people don't really understand this passion, this burning passion that I have at this point for the things that I have learned and things that my experience has taught me and what I've been through actually teaching me as well too. But like I said, back in 2015, I had no knowledge of what it was going to be like in the real world, in the business world, in the job world. I had no idea. The only thing I knew was interviewing, getting a job, well, getting a degree, interviewing, getting a job, and then just working, and then one day raising a family the same way everybody else does. Because a while ago, and I'm just going to say it because, I mean, this is just the truth. I remember my actual father has told me before, like, you know, you pretty much better enjoy college because you, you're pretty much going to be working the rest of your life. And that was just from his perspective. And that was just what, you know, he believed at the time. So to me, I think that we have an issue with like parents. And the issue is that like parents tend to like put us in a box based off of what they believe and what they have been through and what they have experienced. And when I was told that at the time, I mean, I kind of just, I didn't know if I really felt like he was being negative. I kind of felt like he was just trying to tell me through his experience what he had been through. But now that I look back on it, he was being negative, because any person who would want to motivate someone who is a parent, you know, to go further, they would take the time to actually motivate them to go towards the goal that they want to go towards. But the thing about it is that without him being like knowing my business knowledge and all that, there would be no way for him to motivate me in that way. So again, like, I think that a lot of it had to do with like the lack of knowledge of these business ventures and things like that, especially for me being a chemical engineering student and me thinking that's the only thing that I'm ever going to do in my life, basically. So anyway, I think subject matters being irrelevant to the workforce like practices is also an issue as well too. You're taught all these like kind of crazy things while you're in school and expected to do all these crazy assignments just to prove that you have the capacity to do what you're being told, but it doesn't equate to the actual hands-on portion of it. And I think I'm also want to cover this topic because understanding that is very important as well too. I think that the amount that you pay to go to school doesn't equate to the value that you get out of your education, and because of that, to me, it's like buying a bad business product at this point. So I don't necessarily agree with the idea of myself, especially like going back to school and getting another degree. I don't really think that's going to help me or be beneficial or further my life in the way that I see it fit at this point in time. And I feel as though the education system in general, because it has done that, because I had to pay so much money in order to get the education I wanted to get, and then I wasn't getting nearly the results and reception I was expecting to get, being told while I was in school that I was going to get a job. I was going to get a job immediately out of like after I graduated, and I was going to be a shoe-in because my major was chemical engineering and it was the hardest major ever. So I think that with that being said, it's kind of a disappointment, and because I'm a person who loves learning, I found it to be a very frustrating thing. The other thing too is that I guess like I kind of want to make this video to also educate parents on how the education system has failed and how they glorify, and I would say sexualize. I'm being funny when I say sexualize, but I truly believe this. Sexualize the idea of seeing their kid go to school. Now, I'm being funny when I say that because I think it's like a fantasy almost to see, your kid go to school, walk across the stage where you're like, oh, my baby, oh my God, like, look, they got their degree, yada, yada, yada. But your baby, once they get out of school, is saying, hey, can I live with you because I can't get a place on my own. I can't find a job, and I have student loans that are just like crawling just up my back. So I think that it's almost kind of like a fantasy to say I guess kind of put in your offspring. I don't want to say child because those aren't children at that point. To put in your offspring's mind that, oh, you need to go to college. It's the only way you're going to be successful. Then they cry and get all teary-eyed and upset and, ooh, my baby, oh, I'm so proud and all this other stuff. They want to see all that, and they want to see the big picture of that, and they want to brag to other people about what they've done. Other people think the same things that they think. But then, like, when it comes to getting the job part and all that, something just falls short. It falls really short because people are either not getting jobs or people are getting jobs that have nothing to do with what they study while they're in school, therefore learning that it doesn't really have the value that it should have. It just doesn't. That's another thing that it just doesn't make sense, and that's another thing that needs to be covered. Another thing too is I'm trying to end this cycle of false education. Now, mind you, this is what I truly believe, and I don't really care what anybody else has to say about this. This is just the truth. I think that the people who are running these education systems don't really care about you benefiting too much. Now, that doesn't mean that they're out to get you. That means that they don't care about you benefiting, which are two different things. That means they're more apathetic than they are malicious. Now, it will come off as malicious because of what's going on, but like I think they're apathetic. I think that they really don't want people that much to be like business people like themselves. They don't want to see people at the top. They don't want to see people doing the same thing that they're doing. They want to get money from you because you are their business product. So basically, they're selling the heck out of you, and they're getting all of your money. And you have to pay all these like loans back and stuff like that, and you still don't have a job, but it's the very job that you're trying to get to work for a lot of those same people in those positions. And then on top of that too, like I think they're not really trying to change that. I think they're going to charge more money as time goes by. I think that the value and the quality of the education is not going to be updated, so then it therefore loses value at that point. And I think that they're still going to just do what they do to make money. And then parents who are still naive, which is why I want to educate them on what's going on, are just going to continue to send their kids to school, telling them that, oh, if they don't go to school, they're going to be a failure. They're going to be working at McDonald's, yada, yada, yada. And then when they get to school, They get their degree, then they're sitting there crying and falling out and passing out because their baby walked across the stage, and then at the end of it they can't find a job anyway, and then like they still have stuff to say. I just think that this cycle needs to end, and I think that something needs to be done. And the only way that we can start is by making people aware of the things that are going on. So that's what I'm going to do personally: is start making people aware of how cruddy the education system has done people. So let's talk about the concepts that it failed to teach that it should have taught. One, assets and liabilities. The reason why I say both of these is because at the end of the day, you're going to have to teach somebody the idea of balance in finances. So what I mean by balance in finances is knowing like your liability. So knowing the things that are actually taken out of your finances. So knowing about debt, knowing about expenses, knowing about things like interest and interest rates and things like that that take more money out from like what you actually have. So I think that knowing about liabilities can help you to avoid the things that are liabilities. But of course, I think the education system is in some way trying to gear you towards working for another person. So they don't want you to learn those things like assets and liabilities and balance. They want you to be able to enjoy a lifestyle that's seemingly lavish because other people who are like are rich and who are balling, quote unquote, and doing all this other stuff are doing the same thing. So they are trying to promote that. And especially like if you ever look at certain media sources. I say certain media sources because I've seen people get really sensitive about when I say media or when other people say media. When I say certain media sources, I mean like social media. I mean like when you look at celebrities, when you look at certain TV shows, and when you hear about certain things and then these trends that get kind of like catchy, people are trying to keep up with those things. And the education system doesn't really care about that, because what's happened is they're kind of coinciding. They're not working together, but they're coinciding because they're kind of selling you on this dream of getting a degree and then getting a job, but then not teaching you anything about finances. Then you look on social media and you look on TV shows and all these other places, and you see all these like rich and famous people who have cars and clothes and really expensive things, and then you glorify that based off of not being taught by the education system how to deal with your money and how to make your money grow. Which is why I think assets is an important topic, because with assets, they teach you, or if you're being taught about assets, you can learn the value of growing your money. You can learn what it would take for you to be able to have more income. So in other words, like, you know, you're going to have debts and you're going to have expenses. Those things are just unavoidable. So, you know, a lot of people, when they deal with offsetting their liabilities, they often deal with one stream of income, which is their actual job. And sometimes it's big enough to kind of offset those things, but a lot of times by people's choices, I feel, they don't. And I think that having another stream of income offsets all of those expenses and debts and things like that. But again, the way that I would encourage people to look at it is you need that balance. And teaching assets and liabilities would help a person to gain that balance of understanding expenses versus income, and learning that the importance is how much money you keep. If that was taught, I think a lot of people would be better off. Now, for the second thing that I think should have been taught, I think it should have been a differentiation of intelligence, and knowing that grades are not a determination of its arbitrary concept. So let me define what I'm saying here. So as I have said earlier, there are different types of intelligence, and I think that with understanding that there are different types of intelligence, I think that we can stop kind of putting it into one pool, and then we can understand what we are and are not good at. So it helps people to understand themselves faster, I think, in my opinion. And I think from there you can understand what you are good at and improve on that, but not necessarily have to focus on what you're not good at. If you ever go to a job, they want you to have a balance. They want you to be the guy or girl who wears all hats. They want you to be the person who can multitask and can do different things and is like a very malleable person. Now, I don't necessarily think that that is a business trait necessarily. I think that the best thing for a person to be is a person who focuses on their strengths and making their strengths as strong as possible, and their weaknesses are just their weaknesses, and they find a way to deal. So I think that with that being said, Knowing the levels of intelligence that you have will help you to understand your own self better. Now, when I say levels of intelligence, there are many, but I'm going to name a few just so you can understand what I mean by the breakdown. There's emotional intelligence. There's mental intelligence. Mental intelligence being like what you're able to understand factually, what you're able to learn, what you're able to pick up. There's instinctive intelligence. There's also I'm trying to make sure that I say this in the right way. There's also intuitive intelligence, which probably has something a little bit to do with emotional intelligence, but I think that's a little bit different. When I say intuitive, I mean like understanding auras, understanding vibes, understanding when something is and is not a good situation, which, like I said, is very similar to emotional intelligence. But when I say emotional intelligence, that means having the ability to understand and be in control of your own emotions, being able to understand other people's, being able to react positively when you hear other people's emotions instead of being uncomfortable. Because we have this big thing of like valuing uncomfortability and of emotions, and like it being okay to be like a messed up, screwed up person and things like that. Like we value that stuff. It's kind of sick. So I think that that's a lack of understanding of emotional intelligence and not being in control of your emotions or understanding others, which is different than being intuitive, which is just understanding the vibe that you get from someone just based off of their personality and the presence that they bring into a room. That's different. And then when I say mental intelligence, again, I'm talking about like facts and things that you understand. And also there's like creative intelligence. I don't think I said that earlier, but understanding the ability to have an imagination and then to create things based off of that imagination that you have. I think everybody has different levels of those things. Some people are more creative than they are practical. Some people are more, like I said, practical than they are creative. Some people are better with facts. Some people are better with hands-on things. So it's all about like aptitude and the things that you're better at. So I think that intelligence is defined in different ways, but we all group them together just because we see somebody get a degree or we get to see somebody get good grades, which could be that they are intelligent, but doesn't correlate necessarily to the idea of just arbitrary intelligence, because you're kind of grouping them all in one category as if they exist in one category, and they don't. So I just wanted to kind of make that determination for that. As far as like grades not determining how intelligent you are, we need to stop this trend of having people compete because one person's grades are better than another. Grades do not necessarily determine that one person is more intelligent than another, nor does it necessarily determine at all if a person is actually intelligent. It entails that they have the capacity to do what is being asked of them, and it entails that they are able to complete certain tasks that are given to them. Every teacher teaches differently. Some are great at it, some are horrible at it, but are tenured, so it don't matter. So to me, I feel like we need to be able to understand that grades are like that you get in school are just ways for people to compete against other people in certain ways. They're also for bragging rights. They're also for, hey, I'm just the best student in the world and saying that. But I mean, what is that? How intelligent does that make you? How do you measure that as a level of intelligence? And some people would say, how would you do it anyway? Like, how would you measure intelligence? But here's my argument. My argument is that you're quick to say how intelligent you are and to hear other people say how intelligent you are, but you're not measuring it. I'm not trying to say that there is a way to be able to measure that. I think again, it's a certain intuition that you know about yourself, that you know that you're good at, and you know what you're not good at intellectually. But I think that by specifying that and taking in that you are intelligent from all these other people, which is positive, I get it. You think that you have a certain intelligence about yourself that you may not actually have. Again, I think this is an important thing when it comes down to understanding yourself. That's just what it is. Now let's move on to the third one. For the next one, I want to say taxes is an important one that needs to be taught. When I say taxes, that means like understanding those forms that you fill out whenever you're trying to get a job, and then you don't know what you're doing, so you always ask the employer or whoever you're filling it out with, like, hey, what am I supposed to fill out here? Am I supposed to check this box? Yada, yada, yada. They should teach you that stuff. They're the ones who are sitting there focused so vehemently on making you an employee and making you another robot with another number who's going to be in the same box as everybody else. They could at least teach you how to fill out the damn forms. So to me, I think my issue is that like stuff like that is not taught. You're not taught about tax deductions, what you can deduct. I mean, you can look it up on the IRS website, but unless somebody tells you look it up on the IRS website, you wouldn't know. You would just think, hey, I'm just going to get the money back from when I worked this job and I did this and I did that. But there's so many things that you can write off. Like, for example, if you're an independent contractor, you can and like, let's say you do Uber, for example, because I've done Uber. Like, you can write off your mileage, you can write off like gas, you can write off your like to and froms, you can write off lunches. Like, a lot of people, like, who especially haven't gone in that venture, never really understood that because nobody's ever taught them that. And a lot of people are saying, oh, it's just an excuse. At this point, I think that it's safe to say that some people are making excuses and some people are not. Some people are just not being taught. And we're at that weird cusp where it's easy to just say it's an excuse. And it's hard to actually be a person who gives a crap and wants to understand people on an individual basis and understand their story and understand what they were not taught. And because of that, I think we put everybody into the same box. So again, I think that if taxes were just taught, then nobody could say that it wasn't taught. Then you could easily say it's just an excuse at this point because everybody, when they go to school, is being taught this and that. But I think that could be taught. I think that understanding how much money is taken out of like your checks whenever you have a job, I think that stuff could be taught as well too. That stuff's not taught. And I think that it's just a big issue, like as far as just understanding like all the money that you think that you're not entitled to that you really are. So that's another thing. The fourth one, investing. Here's the thing about investing. I think that when I say investing, I do mean investing in yourself, but I'm going to do a reverse from what I usually do. In this instance, I mean investing like in the stock market, because those are the real ways to actually make money. So those are the real ways to actually take your money and make your money grow at very high interest rates, because you're putting your money essentially into stocks and bonds, which are like small shares of companies that will rise depending on what the market value is and things like that. Those things should be taught as well too, because that's the real way to actually like create wealth in this world, like wealth at a very high rate. I mean, it's a very high risk, but it's definitely a high rate. So with that being said, I think if that one was taught a little bit more, people would be better off. Again, I don't feel like the education system is trying to teach people things such as that, because of the fact that they do not want people in that higher up status like they are as well too. They want to go and they want to take the money home, and they don't want to tell anybody about what they did and what they're about. And then they want to showcase this idea that education, being educated in the education system is for everybody's greater good. Again, I think that would be very important. And I think that, and I heard this statement a lot, and I'm getting tired of hearing this statement from people. I think what people are saying now is like, well, if that was taught, then everybody would be doing it. That is the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard. The fact of the matter is a lazy person is a lazy person. If a person is still going to be lazy, teaching them something and just saying, here, I taught this. I wanted to teach. I wanted to just tell you about how to do this because this is the real way to, wealth and to succeed. If they're going to be lazy, they're going to be lazy regardless if you tell them, how to win $1 million right now or not. Everybody is not going to do that because some people are entitled and they feel as though people should just hand them things. And that's the reason why, like, you hear a lot of motivational speakers and they don't really seem like they're of value after listening to them so long, because they are recycling the same damn content over and over again, because they're telling you about like why you should be motivated to get up and get it. They don't want to tell you the secrets of how to go and get it, because they want to pawn it off like it's up to you to be able to understand that. So that's why I said, like, that kind of like trumps that concept that if that's the case, then I think that people should understand that that not everybody is going to do that, because they're going to think that they're entitled to the I guess, like, they're going to be entitled to feeling like they need to be helped. And they're going to be entitled to feel like someone's going to just need to give it to them, and they can just be lazy and they don't have to do anything to go out and get what it is that they want to get. So that's why I said, like, that's going to happen whether you teach that stuff or whether you don't. So I think that what I'm trying to say, especially with the thing about motivational speakers, is I think they tend to not say those things kind of like under the pretense that like that other people are going to be doing the same, that like if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. And I don't necessarily think that if it was that easy, everybody would do it. I really don't. So the next thing is that like I think soft skills and I think getting on an interview and getting a job are like also important things that need to be taught. It's so funny. Once again, the very thing you're going to school for, you're not being taught. Once again, just like the whole thing where I was talking about, I guess like taxes and filling out forms and stuff like that. So I don't know if you all know what a soft skill is, but a soft skill essentially is when you are like how you're versed, like how you talk, how you communicate, how you say things to people, when you go back and forth with people and things like that. So that's what that's all about. Getting an interview and on a job. Basically, if you ever look and you go to colleges, a lot of times they'll say, oh, guess what? We have groups, like you can go to this group and they'll teach you how to write a resume or how to critique your resume, and they'll do like mock interviews and stuff like that. Why do you have to have a club to do that? That should be a mandatory practice for classes, because of the fact that you're designed to go there just so that you can go and you can get a job, but you're not being taught that in the actual class. You're being taught about some BS such as parallelograms and all this other stuff that don't matter. So to me, like, I think what people need to understand is that these types of soft skills and this ability to communicate, although it may come naturally, it's going to come at different levels for people, but everybody is trying to find a job. So I think that it needs to be taught on a regular basis so that people are able to capitalize on an opportunity. So I think that if people taught others, like, also the rules of interviews, because there's a lot of stuff that people don't know, then I think a lot of people will be better off. Like, first of all, most people don't know that if you go into an interview, you always got to look the person in the eye. You got to shake their hand firmly, like not like a little soft shake, or like you may see somebody who you knew like from high school 5 years ago, and you kind of like mildly shake their hand. Like, you got to firmly shake their hand. You have to wait to be told to sit down. You can't wear jewelry. You can't wear a lot of cologne or any cologne at all. I wouldn't even wear it at all. Watches, perfume, any of that stuff, or those could all hit your chances. And you have to be business professional every time you go into a professional interview that could be for your career. To me, that is a very it's a very intricate process, and it's not being like taught to people. So people are going in and they're doing all these weird things that they don't really know about because they're not taught how to do that. But again, you go to the education system and it's supposed to teach you that because it's designing you so that you can be robot number blank. But the thing about it is they're not even teaching you how to be the person who they actually want you to be. It's ridiculous to me. And then actually just getting and securing the job, like to me, I think that those are like kind of basic things that could easily be taught. But again, I just wanted to kind of like tell you all about some of the concepts that I feel the education system did not teach. Again, I do not feel as though they will teach you all that in the long run, because I don't think they want to teach you those things. I think that they don't care about your level of success as long as they're getting paid. I truly believe that. As far as, people who say if they did teach these things because everybody would be doing it, I highly do not agree with that statement, because if a person is lazy, they're just going to be lazy. They're going to do exactly what they want to do. And you teaching them something is not going to stop them from actually finding a way out of being lazy. They're just going to continue to be lazy. So I think you might as well teach it, and you might as well just kind of like put it out there. So anyway, again, I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you guys got to learn a lot. I hope you guys got some insight on my opinions, especially about education. If you guys like the video and you guys want to see more, because there are going to be 3 more videos to come after this video, then feel free to subscribe to The Hustler's Perspective and share this video with all your friends, and do what you can to get the word out there, because I have a lot more to say. As far as my Facebook page, you can go to the Hustler's Perspective YouTube channel. As far as my blog, you can go to thehustlersjackpot.com. If you want to go to my Facebook page for my blog, you can go to The Hustler's Jackpot. And if you want to go to my business page on Instagram, you can go to @thehustlersjackpot. And finally, if you want to go to my actual personal Instagram page, then you can go to @coolcolas. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed what was being said here. Once again, there's going to be a lot more to come. Video 5 is going to be coming tomorrow, so you will get to see it, and you will get a chance to give your feedback and things like that. But anyway, with that being said, I will see you guys later. Keep hustling.